welcome back. It's Shelby, and today we are taking a little balsa wood box from the craft store. You can pick these up for less than $1.50. They are wood, but they're very, very soft wood. They have little hinges. Inside is just blank, and then they do clasp just like that. So they're cute and they're perfect for making little presentation boxes, little ring boxes, trinket boxes, or if you want to make like a little mini treasure chest for like a pirate themed party, something of that nature, they're perfect for that. So making this over is what we are doing today. I will link everything you need down in the description below, along with my socials as always. But basically we want to stain it, and I'm using an acrylic paint for that. So paint, sandpaper, water, paintbrush, fabric, hot glue, some paper. That's about it. I think some tape, but that's everything we're using in today's craft. So I will link that down below because it's kind of a long list. But basically we are going to be making this over into a cute little treasure chest, trinket box, presentation box. And yeah, if you like the video, let me know by hitting that thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let's get going. So the first thing that I want to do is just take off some of the edges and some of the dents just from being at the store. This is a really soft wood, so it can dent very easily. I just have 150 grit sandpaper here, and I'm just going to lightly kind of take off the top surface. It is a really soft wood. You really don't have to go that hard or that long, and then just take off some of the edges so that there aren't any splinters. There we go. With these boxes, I do make sure to always kind of go over the edges a little bit like that. They do tend to splinter pretty easily, and you don't want that when you're handling it. So now you can run your finger over it. Nice smooth edge, nice and soft, not going to give you any splinters. That's what we want. So I'm going to wipe this off real quick, and then we will get to staining it. It's really just painting it, but it's a cheap, cheater way of doing it. So to stain it, I just have a little plastic plate here. My paint, this is just acrylic paint. Like, you could use craft paint, you can use whatever you want. I don't want to paint it completely 100% opaque like paint. I want it more like a stain. So what I'm going to be doing is mixing my paint with water. So just pour it in, and you can pour as much or as little as you want. The more water, the more diluted the stain is. You can always add more paint, always add more water. Mix it up with your paintbrush. And you can do different colors too. I'm using Payne's Gray on this. I did a couple boxes earlier, which I will bring out in Burnt Sienna, and then I forget what the other one was. It was brown. But yeah, so basically just mix it up with your brush till it's nice and inky, and then just paint it on just like that. If it's too dark, add more water, but it can almost make like a watercolor effect. You can add more paint, more water, mix it up however you want. The wood is going to soak in the water, and it is going to dry a little bit lighter than you put it on. It's also not going to be shiny at all, so don't think that you're going to get this like shiny, polished, finished result. You're not. For this one, I'm going for kind of like a rustic, old looking box. That's why I chose this color. That's why I chose the other two colors, but you can make them like fancier if you want. You can use an actual varnish or stain if you want. This I'm going for a little bit more rustic, outdoor, weathered look. And you can see that like on the sides especially, it just literally sucks right in all of the moisture. You can't even like really paint it on. It's just like pulling it in. Another thing to keep in mind with these boxes is where they glued them, the glue shows. Like, these aren't super high quality boxes, so you're not going to be able to completely cover everything. There's probably going to be some joints or something, and I can show you on the boxes coming up, where the glue stops the paint kind of stain mixture from getting in there and is visible. That doesn't really bother me. You can go over it with a little bit of just like undiluted paint if it does bother you, but keep that in mind. We're just going to finish this up, make it look nice and weathered. This looks pretty cool actually. So this is what the top looks like. I made this pretty diluted so you can see the grains of the wood coming through, and it's not completely done yet, but this looks pretty cool so far. So this is basically exactly what I wanted. I'm making a miniature of what I want to look like a giant travel chest that's just kind of been through all parts of the world, and just like maybe from, you know, a different time frame when people traveled with steamer trunks instead of suitcases, and I know that's like a lot of aesthetic to be packing into this little box, but that's what I'm going for. Don't forget to unhinge the top and get in there as well. And I am gonna line this box, but I hate it when things are unfinished, so I'm actually gonna do the inside of the box as well as soon as I'm done with the outside, even though you're not gonna see it because it's going to be under fabric. It will honestly bug me if it's not done correctly, or as I say correctly, but like completely. So I'm gonna do the inside of the box too. Because of that, we are putting a lot of water on this box, and it does need time to absorb it all in. So I let my other two boxes that I did last night sit overnight, and those are the ones we're going to be working on today. This one I'm going to leave out to go sit overnight as well, because I just, you know, you don't want to put a bunch of water in something and then glue down a bunch of fabric. That's just asking for mildew. It's not a good day. We're not going to do that. The great thing about this too is that it goes pretty quickly because you really don't need to be that precise. You're just doing like a color wash over it, and honestly it's pretty hard to mess up with these boxes. Here we go. So you can see a little bit what I was talking about with the glue on the edges, maybe not in this lighting, but inside there along the edges. It's not really picking up the color, but that's okay. I think I mixed up just enough paint water mixture for this, which is perfect. You're gonna need more water than you think, like definitely more than just a little dollop, because the wood does suck in so much of the moisture that you need a fair amount just to be able to keep the brush moving and get the color saturated in there. There we go. So this is a little box that I'm going to let dry. This is what it turned out as. Gonna wipe off some of the drippies if they're coming out of the center. Wipe off your fingerprints. You can definitely be more meticulous about this than I have been, but like I said, I'm going for a weathered look, so that doesn't really bother me. But this already looks so much more legit than the little pail box that I got, so this is awesome. I'm gonna let this dry and pull out the other two that I did last night, and we will continue on the inside of those, which is what this one will end up looking like when it's done, but not till at least tomorrow. Okay, so the next step is to bring out the two boxes that I finished last night. So I did one in brown and one in burnt sienna, which is like a reddish brown. And you can't really tell the difference on camera, but this one's a bit more red. Close together, you can kind of tell. So there's similar boxes in different shapes. I got them all from the same place in the craft store. On which one? This one, you can see what I was talking about, where the glue kind of stops the like stain, the paint water mixture from going in. It does cover it a little bit, but you can still totally see. So it's not perfect, but again, that's okay. You can also see that it's soaked right in. It's not shiny or anything. It doesn't feel shiny or smooth. It just feels like raw wood, which is what it is. On the inside, you can see where the glue stopped the saturation as well, but I'm not so worried about that. What we are doing right now is going to be lining the insides of these. So for that, I have paper and scissors. I also have hot glue and fabric, but we don't need those yet. Basically what you're going to do is, and I'm using flimsy paper, this is where your choice comes in. You can use flimsy paper because they are very small boxes, or you can use nice thick cardstock paper, which if you're lining any box larger than this, I would actually super suggest. But because the inside of this is so small, using thicker paper is going to use more room, and then we're covering that with fabric on top of that, and the inside's just gonna shrink. So I'm using really thin paper, and I can get away with it on a box this size. On a larger box, I would actually suggest cardstock. So side note with that one, but basically what you wanna do, like the cheater way of doing this, is instead of like trying to line it and like smush the fabric in there, we're gonna create a little insert that just fits right in. So all you have to do is take your paper and get a rough measurement of the inside. So like, there we go, like cut a strip right there, all the way across, full strip. And what that's gonna do is give you kind of the inside measurement of the bottom of the box. The thing about this is because we are lining it and wrapping the fabric around, you don't want it necessarily super tight to the edge. So close counts, but err on the side of the paper being smaller than the bottom of the box. Okay, so I have my strip of paper and it fits right inside the box, just like that, which is perfect. So now just kind of put the center in the center of the box, smush it out and push your fingernails into the very corners. Make sure it's nice and flat in there, and then kind of roll the edges of the paper down and make a nice indentation across the top of the box. There we go. That might not have made a lot of sense. Basically, I'm just lining the inside of the box with the paper and bringing it up the edges. So now I know exactly how big the bottom is and exactly where the edges are. So I'm going to cut here and here. Make the corners slightly more pronounced. And theoretically, this is a perfect fit for the bottom of the box and up the sides. Perfect. Nailed it. So that's exactly what you want. Next, we're going to be covering these two sides. The great part is you already have the height of that. So that is how wide you want your paper strip to be. So put that on there, fold it over, and cut a strip just as wide as those. Perfect. So this should be the height of the box. I'm just going to fold that in half, nice and sharp, and then basically just cut it to fit. Just right there. There we go. So this fits perfectly just in the back of the box. It's folded over, so I can just cut down the center. And now I have all four sides for the bottom of my box. I'm just gonna assemble them with some tape. So this part's super easy. You're literally just making a box. So pull out some tape, take your side. I would actually stretch the paper out. Just put it on there and run the tape there as a seam. Just like that. And you'll notice if you did it correctly that the edges of the paper line up with the folded edges with the wings on it. If they don't line up, you did something wrong. Go back and remeasure at this point. But this is creating basically a little hinge, the tape is. So go ahead, get your other side on there, same method. So this is the paper representation of the bottom of your box. It's basically just an insert that we're going to cover with fabric so that it slides right in, nice and easy. Like I said, if you're using a bigger box, or even if you just want these boxes to be a little bit fancier, use like cardstock paper. You're going to get a better result. But for such a small box like this, I don't need it. But if you're doing anything larger, you're going to like it. It's going to be easier to work with. Making this part of it's going to be a little bit tricky, but after that it'll be way smoother sailing. So go ahead and use cardstock for that. I'm going to fit my paper insert in here just to make sure it fits the way I want it to. Basically, imagine this covered in cloth. This is perfect. This is exactly what you want it to be. So we're going to pull that out, cover it with cloth. First things first, just treat it like a square. It's going to be so much easier. So pretend the corners are filled in and cut a piece of fabric that just covers it. You don't need a big leeway, just slightly large, and just cut a square that this will fit on. So while my hot glue gun is heating up, this is my bit of blue velvet. I've got the edging on there, but that doesn't matter. And it is just larger than, line up correctly. There we go. Just larger than this, so I can fold it over. And I want to tell you what I'm going to do because hot glue, you kind of have to move quickly. So I need to attach the velvet to this. Basically what I'm going to do is, this is the back side, this is the fuzzy side. I'm going to glue it to the back here. I don't need a lot of hot glue for that, but what I want to do is attach it right along the seams. That's very important because you're bending the edges up. So if you just do like a cross pattern here and you bend the edges up, the fabric's going to get really loose like this. You see, let's do it on the edge so you can see. Like really loose and you know, does it need to be? If you glue the seam and then glue this around the side, when it goes up, it's going to be nice and tight, and that's exactly what you want. Otherwise, the inside of your box is going to look like this. It's going to be all like bubbly and gross. You don't want that. You want nice, clean lines, so just make sure that you run the beads along the seams of the interior bottom rectangle. I would leave the wings open for now, just get the bottom set, and then we'll cut it, trim it, and do the wings right after that. So what I'm doing is I'm laying my fabric down, fuzzy side down, back side up on the table. I'm gonna take my hot glue gun. So this is the side that closes in the box, that's the side going down. So run a bead of hot glue along that, flip it over and press it down into your fabric and make sure that you've got at least a little bit of room along all the edges. When it comes up, it should look like that. So I just looked up to realize that my camera was not recording. Awesome. And I just went through all this stuff and can't really undo it, so I'm just gonna explain what I did. So you saw me do the inside rectangle. What I did was put a bead of glue here, 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 and here on the flaps and press it down so that the fabric is glued to the flap. So just on the inside between the fabric and the paper, nice and glued down. And then what I did was run a bead of glue along the edge here, fold the paper over, along the edge here, fold the fabric over. So this is what we're looking at in the back. Sorry about that, I'm like super mad at my camera, but it happens. So this is where we are. Everything is glued down to it and I'm just rolling the fabric over and attaching it. And yeah, basically, oh, one thing I was explaining, because I had this whole, like, you ever do that thing where you just like get everything right and you just like nail the presentation and then like something at the end like completely negates it, like you look up and your camera's not recording? Well, that was it. You'll have to take my word for it that it was just like very eloquent when I'm not usually. But by putting the seam of glue down the flap and then gluing it to the edge as well as the seam of glue here, when you fold the velvet up inside, it's gonna be nice and straight and you're not gonna get that crunchy, bubbly velvet. So that's what's important for that. So I'm gonna run my bead of glue there and fold the fabric over. We're not worrying about the insides of the corners just yet. We will do that next. But yeah, let's get this done first. Goes on pretty quickly. And you don't have to use hot glue. You could use that like spray glue. You could use really whatever type of glue you want. But now my fabric is attached, and what I'm going to do is, because it's too bulky to do that, I'm just going to cut on the diagonals. So just kind of cut them out, leave yourself a little bit of room to fold it over. Just like that. So there's a little bit of room to fold it over. Do that for all of your corners. The thing I like about working with hot glue is because velvet unravels pretty easily and leaves all these lovely little blue things everywhere. The glue kind of seals it down. So I'm going to be doing the same thing I did before, running the glue along the edges and folding the fabric up over it just to seal down the corners. So the back is seamed down just like that. That's what the front looks like. I'm going to do that for the other three edges. Okay, so this is what it looks like all said and done. When it folds up, the fabric keeps its shape. We're gonna put this into the box, make sure it fits, and then we're gonna glue it down and we're gonna be done. That's it. I've got my box right here. Gonna fold up, just get off all of the little streamers of hot glue first. Fold up the edges. Kind of grab them as best you can. This is where the like flimsy paper versus cardstock really comes into play, but that's not bad. I got that. Down any edges. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, so this is just set in there, but look how cute that is. Totally transforms the box. Absolutely beautiful. I'm probably gonna put a little piece of velvet there. I don't think I'm gonna line the edges at the top. Just like a little thing right there. This side piece is sticking out away from the wood. You can't really see on the camera, but it is. But once I put a little bit of glue in there and press the edges down, it's gonna be fine. Oh, actually just doing that made it fine. So this is how it fits. I'm not even going to take it out. I'm literally just going to fold down the edges and put in a dollop of glue. Press it down there. Same thing. Fold down the corner. There's not really going to be any force pulling this fabric out of the box, so you just need something to keep the edges in place. You don't really need to like really glue it down, pack it down, anything like that. Just kind of tuck the edges down, get a little bit of glue in there. Just like that. Perfect. That looks awesome. That looks really, really good. I do think I want to put a little piece of velvet there though, now that I'm looking at it. I just feel like it would give it a little something extra. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut myself a little rectangle of velvet to attach up there. Okay, so I cut a little rectangle to fit. I mean, yes, I could cut the paper and fold it around the back and everything, but I really don't think that's necessary. All I'm going to do is take my hot glue, line the inside edges of the box because I want the corners to really stick down. If I just do it in the center, the loose fabric's gonna do that. Carefully lay the fabric in place and ta-da! Beautiful box. This is so cute, really easy to do, completely transforms everything. I mean, you saw what we started with and now we've got this, and it's beautiful, it's perfect, I love it. So if you guys like the project, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now. So these are the chests all complete, other than the one that we did originally that's drying. This is the inside, the blue velvet. But all in all, I think they turned out really cute. I'm super happy with them. Ignore the tape, that's what I have propping it open because the hinges just kind of fly. So the tape's just holding it open, but yeah, turned out pretty well, super cute.